Hi guys, it's Aoife from Words of Clover and I'm here today to do a tag video. So I want to do the quarter year crisis book tag. This is a really fun book tag created by Roisin over at Roisin's Reading. And the first question is, how many books have you read so far this year? So far this year I have read 46 books. I think, yeah, from today, 46 books. So yeah, I'm really happy with how my reading is going. I have just set my reading goal for, I think 100 books. And I always know I will read more than 100 books a year. I can quite easily read 100 books, but I have found in previous years when I have set like a very high reading goal for myself, I haven't enjoyed, or I felt that a little bit stressful trying to either catch up or trying to kind of read books very quickly to try and get to that reading goal, where the last couple of years I have stopped that. I've just set it at 100, knowing that I'll very easily get to that number and I can just relax and enjoy all my reading and not be too worried about if I'm very far behind on that reading goal. Question number 2 is, have you already found a book that you think might be a favourite? If not, what was your favourite book you haven't read that wasn't quite a 5-star? So I'm actually going to talk about a series or a trilogy that I've read almost. I've read 2 out of 3 books. I'm planning on reading the third very soon. And that is the Greenbone Saga, which the first book is Jade City by Fonda Lee. This was actually my first book that I read this year. And I think this trilogy is going to be a favourite of the year and probably a favourite of all time. I think the writing in this is just absolutely exceptional. The world building, the character building. I think this is just amazing. This is a very an urban fantasy book where we are following these a family called the Call family, and they are basically the very top of a kind of clan type of mafia type of family, and we're following the siblings. One of them is the leader, the next one down is kind of the head kind of gangster boss in a way, and then we're following a sister as well who is kind of the knowledgeable person, the person who kind of deals with some of the politics and the finances and things of the family. But the mafia, that's the type of mafia that is in this world, they basically control the entire city. There are rival gangs as well that they have to contend with. They also have to fight, sometimes fight to their death, in different types of duels. And they also wield something called jade, which is a type of kind of stone that is mined in this city or in this country that they are in. And if you are a particular type of person, like the people in this clan, if you are wearing jade, it can give you extra powers. So it can give you kind of extra strength, extra abilities. And we see how jade, but jade can also make you very, very sick. And the more jade you wear, the stronger you are, but the more susceptible you are of becoming sick from this jade. So it's kind of like a really fine line to balance. And we see how the characters all deal with this in their own way. And this is just amazing. There's so much in it, and it's kind of hard to explain, but I just think the writing, this is so good. The first book takes place over about a year or so, and then the second book, Jade War, takes place over about 5 years. And I feel like you just get to know the characters so much. Every time I stopped reading a book, I kind of felt a little bit bereft that I wasn't in the world anymore. And I know the third book, which is Jade, I can't remember the Jade Empire or Jade Legacy, I think is the third book. I know I think that takes place over maybe about 20 years, and I genuinely think I might cry when I finish it because I won't want to part with the characters. But this is definitely, I think, going to become a favourite series of mine, and yeah, I'm really excited to read the third one, but I also kind of don't want to because I don't want to be finished with the world either. But yeah, definitely a favourite. The next question is, any 1-star books or least favourite books of the year so far? So in terms of books that, not necessarily my least favourite, but I want to kind of talk about ones that have maybe been the most disappointing for me. Actually, the 2 I have listed down here are actually 2 Irish reads, unfortunately. And the first one I've talked a good bit about already, that is 7 Steeples by Sarah Baum. This is one that I was very highly anticipating for the last year since I bought it, and unfortunately this one is about a couple who kind of say goodbye to their life in the city and they decide to move to the country. They become very, very solitary and they kind of shut themselves off from the rest of the world just to become the 2 of them, and we're following them as their life kind of continues in this countryside. And I thought that was going to be something I would really, really love, but I found just the execution of the novel was just very, very plodding and boring. And even though there were parts of the writing that I admired a lot, the story itself just didn't grip me in any way. There's absolutely no dialogue in this book as well to kind of keep the story getting exciting, or it just felt like it was very monotone the entire book, and I just was really disappointed in this. It just wasn't the book I thought it was going to be, unfortunately, and yeah, I was really disappointed in it. That really disappointed me was A Million to One by Adiba Jargadar. That is this is a kind of YA historical fiction. It is set in 1912. It starts in Dublin in 1912, and we were following a group of girls who come together to try and pull off this heist on the Titanic, and they're trying to steal this very particular like book that's like encrusted with jewels, and they want to make a copy of it and to try and sell it on then. And the entire, like, I really loved the plot of this book, like the story, or the premise, I should say. I really like the premise of this book, like these four girls, these kind of like a girl gang, like a heist story. I always love heist stories, but I just think it failed in every single way it possibly could. I feel like the story felt very rushed. I feel like we didn't really get to know the characters too well. Like there was a real, like, it was very like obvious who I guess like the favourite characters were, if you know what I mean, and I felt like the other ones just faded into the background, where I would have liked to have known more about them, and I rooted for them more than the main characters. There is a sapphic romance in this that is very nice, but again, I just, you know, it in comparison to everything else, it wasn't strong enough to make the story any better for me. I think the heist bit of it as well was very weak, and the setting of the Titanic as well. Like if you're going to set something on the Titanic, like make it that, like, I don't know, there was just something about it that I was like, I feel like, except for obviously what happens at the end with the Titanic, this could be set on any ship. Like it just, I don't know, the setting just really like was just really lackluster for me, and yet this whole book was just such a disappointment. It was really and I was really sad about it, because I do love Adiba Jargadar's writing. I think it could be that maybe she just excels better in contemporary fiction rather than historical fiction. So I will definitely be reading her next book that's coming out soon, called The Dew and Donuts of Love, which I think is like a baking competition story, which again looks really fun. I'll still be reading that, and hopefully I'll like that one better than this. But yeah, this one was just a major flop for me. Question number 4 is the most read genre so far. I haven't checked this on my story graph, but I'm pretty sure the most read genre I have read has definitely been historical fiction, and I've always read quite a lot of historical fiction, but this year in particular I feel like I've just read quite a lot of it so far, and I've really enjoyed most of the historical fiction that I have read. So yeah, I'm a historical fiction girly. I just love it. Question number 5 is a book that surprised you, and I'm going to talk about a book that I actually read very recently. I listened to it on audiobook, and that's The Court of Miracles by Kester Grant. And the more I think about this book, the more I like it. I like, when I finished it, I was like, oh, it's like a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then when I wrote my review for it, it got me excited about the book all over again. I was like, I actually feel like I want to reread this already after writing my review, and like that very rarely happens. So yeah, that surprised me as well. I hadn't actually realized how much I liked it until I reflected back and was like talking about all the things that I did like about it. And this is set in like an alternate type of 1812 or 1800s France and revolutionary Paris, and it's kind of loosely, not a retelling, but it's kind of loosely inspired by like Les Mis, and we have a lot of characters who either have the same name as Les Mis characters or are inspired by them. The main character that we're following is called Nina, so she's obviously Eponine, and she has a little sister who's kind of like an adopted sister or a foster sister called Etty, who's kind of like the Cosette character. This whole kind of Paris, we're very much following the underworld of Paris, and we are seeing how there is something called the Court of Miracles, which is where all the kind of debauchery is controlled. There's kind of like a separate court of assassins, a court of thieves, a court of flesh, and so we see like a court of I guess forgery and stuff like that. So we see how like they all kind of are they're all led by particular people, and we see Nina being brought into this. She becomes a black cat, so she becomes kind of like a thief, but we see that she has her own agenda, and it's something to do with her older sister who was taken by someone within the court of flesh, and she is trying to get revenge on this person. And then we see her get tied up with a bunch of different characters, such as the students who are trying to rebel, and then also she becomes kind of entangled with the is it the Dauphin of France, or the next king of France. She ends up getting to know him as well. It's all twists and turns around this like revolutionary Paris, but also the underworld of Paris, and we're seeing a lot of really like interesting characters. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this. I don't think I'm explaining it very well, but it was just very fun for me. It was a really good audiobook, but I'd also really love to reread it physically to see if I like it just as much. And I think the story was just really, really entertaining. And yeah, I just felt really gripped with it. There was no like real romance in it, but there was like touches of romance with a few different characters. And I liked and didn't like that because I was kind of like, oh, I feel like who would I like her to be with if I could choose someone? But there was never a strong enough like main attraction with anyone, but I still really enjoyed it. Number 6 is a book that's come out in 2023 already that you want to read but haven't yet. This for me is The Secrets of Hartford Hall. This is by Katie over at Books and Things, and I've always really enjoyed Katie and her channel, so I'm really excited to see the book that she's actually read or the book that she's actually written, and taking like her love of a lot of classic fiction and seeing how she's brought it into her book. And I've heard some really, really great reviews about it as well, and it just sounds really, really good, so that's definitely one I want to read soon. Question number 7 is one goal that you made that you're succeeding at. For me, it's probably trying to read more books that I actually have on my shelf and on my Kindle, and as well kind of like my long suffering NetGalley to read list, which just always seems to be getting bigger, and I'm trying to make a dent in it. I don't know if I'm really succeeding at that, but I definitely feel like I've been doing better than I was previously. So yeah, I feel like I'm doing well enough, but I could be doing better, but you know, slow but steady progress, hopefully. Question number 8 is one goal you made that you need to focus on, and for me this is reading more classic books. I wanted to read at least 6 classics this year, so like a classic every 2 months, and so far I have read none, so I'm like 2 behind already. So I'm hoping to try and read one by the end of April, or at least start reading one by the end of April, and then hopefully I will decide which ones I want to read. I don't know whether I'll do a couple of rereads to make it easier for me, or if I'll try and seek out some classics that I haven't read before. So yeah, that is something I really need to get better at this year so far, and try and prioritize over other books. So yeah. And then question number 9 is new to you booktubers that you would like to recommend. So for me, I have 2. One of these is Whimsically Abigail, and Abigail is just, I really, really love the vibes of her videos. And she did I think it was I don't know if there was a book haul she did recently or a recently read, but she did a video recently that I really enjoyed, and she reads a lot of, I think because of her, either her line of study or her line of work that she's doing, she reads a lot of kind of like true crime books, and then books that are looking into kind of like the minds of killers and psychopaths and stuff like that. And even though that's not a real big thing that I would read, I still really find it interesting when other people review those type of books. So I was really hooked into like her recent book haul where she was talking about some of these books that she had picked up and why she had picked them up and why she was interested in them. So I really, really, really like that. So I will leave her linked down below. And then another booktuber that I've really enjoyed is the Untrained Librarian. I found her as she actually joined in with the Irish Readathon this year, but I've really enjoyed her channel since I subscribed to her in early March, and I've just really enjoyed her catch-up videos and her reading wrap-ups and all her reading reviews, so I will leave her linked down below as well. So thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye!